ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Snap Material Podcast. We are back discussing more Marvel Snap. We have just exited the Rivals season and still haven't had a chance to play that video game. My son played it, but I haven't.
My brother tells me it's fun.
I'd like to give it a shot just to see. I used to play my fair share of shooters back in the day. Don't do it as much anymore, but anyway.
The interesting thing I heard of it is it's the first time anyone's ever said Hawkeye is too powerful.
I've seen a couple people talking about some of the crazy stuff. Of course, it's a brand new game, so they have to work the balance out. It sounds like that's what they're doing, because one of the first posts I had seen was talking about how Jeff the Landshark was overpowered in the game. When my son had me come in and watch him play, he was playing as Jeff the Landshark. We'll be talking about the meta here later. We'll be talking about what we unlocked. We will also talk about our next season that we are in the process of right now, which will be Dark Avengers. So that just dropped yesterday as we were recording, January 7th. And if we get a chance, we will definitely talk about our top 5. I did put a list together. And Evan put a list together, too. It's the one we had set back a couple months ago when the holidays happened. So anyway, that is going to be our top 5 combos that we would like to see in the comics. Let's go ahead and get started. Let's talk about last season Rivals. It dropped December 3rd, 2024. And our first card we'll be discussing is Galacta. 4 cost, 6 power. Each turn, the first card you play at another location reveals with +3 power. And this is the card that you get with the season. So I'll tell you right now, I did not get the season pass. I thought about it a lot, actually, because as much as I ran into Galacta, there were plenty of times where I did not want to see her because she made a pretty big impact. Did you get the last season pass?
I did get this one. The cards look pretty cool and useful. I put her in several different decks. I paired her with her dad, especially when you boost up Spider-Man to a 10, then Galactus to a 9, then activate Symbiote Spider-Man. That can be pretty fun.
For sure.
I mean, unless you're the person it's being played on. The sad part is you can usually see it coming, but I've been surprised by Symbiote Galactus multiple times, which is pretty sad considering how often I like to use them. But yeah, I put her in that one. Put her in my deck that I called Maximum Clonage, which was just about boosting up cards like Scarlet Spider to get him up to an 8 or a 10 or something like that, and then suddenly have 2 of them.
Nice.
That was pretty nice. So, yeah, I used her quite a bit. There's a lot of good 4/6 cards. Ben Grimm's not one of them. But there are a lot of good 4/6 cards out there. She's definitely a force to be reckoned with and not a bad card to have in general. Certainly there are decks you can fit her into where you can really maximize what she can do.
Right. Yeah, I mean, when she popped up, I knew she was going to be something to worry about. I kind of regretted when the season ended not spending the $10, but I managed to make it all the way through, and I got her. I did not get her. Next up, our first Spotlight Cash card, Luna Snow. 3 cost, 5 power. On reveal, add an ice cube to each side of this location. The ice cube is a 1 cost, 0 power. But at the start of each turn, you get +1 energy. Then destroy this if your side is full. So I did see her just a handful of times, but really not much to be an aggravation. Reddit certainly wasn't a buzz about Luna Snow. So did you run into Luna Snow a lot?
Yeah, I ended up getting Luna Snow, although I burned 3 keys to get her. I tried pairing her with White Widow and Red Guardian so you could make that ice block or ice cube a -2 and it wouldn't be destroyed.
Right.
Then I used her in my MCU Hammer deck where Galacta was also hanging out to get some of those higher power cards out there. She's not a bad card at all, but like I said, probably wasn't worth the 3 spotlight keys and not one that has a lot of staying power. Like you try it out, you're like, okay, this is good, but what else could I do here?
Right. And compared to what else we got in this season, I'd say she's down there a little ways. I don't think she's at the bottom.
Yeah, well, with the high voltage card, we have 7 new cards, and I'd rank her number 7.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, then up next is Penny Parker, 2 cost, 3 power. On reveal, add Spider to your hand. Or when this merges, you get +1 energy next turn. Spider is a 3-cost, 3-power on reveal. Merge with one of your cards here. You can move that card next turn. So again, combining a lot of elements here. The Spider-Verse characters, they're all move based. But you've got Penny, which I think, is she from... I don't know which one. I assume she appeared in comics first, and then was she in the Spider-Verse movie?
She was one of the folks that got stuck on Miles's Earth with Spider-Ham, Spider-Man Noir, and Peter B. Parker. She shows up briefly in the sequel, which I just watched not too long ago. But yeah, she was in the comics first when I believe she was introduced to part of the original Spider-Verse event.
Okay.
But the joke in not the joke, but the concept in the Into the Spider-Verse movie is she's kind of an anime style. They're all different animation styles that they mix together. I might have gotten her with my first or second key. I was a little skeptical, but she made it into that maximum clonage deck too, because it works well if you merge her with Spider, but you don't have to. Drop her on Agony and get you +1. You can merge Spider with her or with another card you want to boost the move, and it's always nice to have. I think I tried her in a move deck and didn't keep her there very long just because I had some others that I wanted to use. But it's always nice to have a move option in there, like especially when, Jeff still shows up a lot, but combines that merge and boost aspect and movability, and you don't have to play them on each other. So she turned out to be pretty useful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I ran into her very little. Can't say that she was making me wish I spent the keys, because I held back on this. I think I was really low on keys going into this season, and we had a lot of cards getting dropped, so you had to be selective.
Yeah.
Plus, if you didn't have as many keys, you didn't want to waste them. I don't know if I spent very many last season or not, but I was trying to save up. So Penny Parker was not on the list for me. However, the next card was.
And everybody's list.
Dr. Doom, 2099, 4 cost, 2 power. After each turn, add a Doombot 2099 to a random location if you played exactly 1 card. Doombot 2099 is a 4 cost, 2 power ongoing. Your other Doombots and Doom have +1 power. So yeah, had to get this card. Wanted to see what I could do with it. It is a great card to fill up the board. I already have a deck that specifically called it Lane Fill. I don't get creative like you do.
So you don't have a deck like I do called the Dr. Doom Patrol?
Correct. It might be easier for me to remember them that way a lot of times, but I have one that's called Lane Fill. It definitely has Kazar. It has a weenie deck, is probably the best way to describe it. Shauna the She-Devil's in there. She's dropping a bunch of 1 costs in there. But anyway, he fit in great. In that deck, you got Dazzler, you got Mojo, all those great cards that can give you a little bit of a bonus if the lanes are filled. I went insane during High Voltage. I think I had Doom in there for a little bit, but a lot of the bounties are fill every lane. You get so many points for filling 1 lane. So he helped out there. But I really enjoyed him. He was a lot of fun to play, and I feel like I was winning quite a few matches with him. So what was your experience?
I started using him right out of the gate, paired him with Dr. Doom, and then my inspiration was, if I'm only supposed to use 1 card, let's take advantage of that. So I put Electro and Sandman in there.
Ooh.
And then Sunspot, and another card we'll talk about later that rewards you for not using all of your energy. Zabu to try to get him out there earlier. Even put Iron Lad in with the idea of maybe getting some extra Doom bots out there. I saw him a bunch too. One of the things I saw somebody else do first, but one of his running mates I saw a lot was Super Skrull.
Somebody hit me with that, and I was like, why did I not think about this?
Yeah, so I used him for a while just because you'd be doubling, tripling, whatever up all of those Doom bots. I still see him a lot. In fact, I was playing a friendly game with a buddy of mine last night and got smacked around by a deck with Doom 2099 and some of the new cards from this season. It's a pretty fun card that got a lot of people interested. I'm still messing around. I've got a somewhat different version of it now that tries to take advantage of more of the ongoing stuff with either Onslaught or Spectrum and cards like that. So it seemed like it would be a pretty straightforward card, but I keep finding different ways to do it and seeing people come up with it. You got a feeling they're going to nerf him at some point. Although he doesn't seem super powerful, he just seems like he's useful. It's not like, oh crap, they got Doom 2099, I'm done for. My only gripe about him is that I assume this is how he appears in the game, but there is a variant out there that is more like the Doom 2099 comic.
Ooh, is there?
I really want to get.
Oh, yeah. Nice. I agree with you. I think what makes a good card is one that can be used in different ways. Versatility is probably the highest mark a card can have that puts them in the top tier. And I would say that you're right. There's different ways you can use Doom 2099 or at least he's versatile in other decks, but it makes him a good card. And I think that's why a lot of people recognize that right out the gate. They were spending keys on this. It makes it a fun card. What's not fun.
Apparently not what a lot of people thought about the next card.
Exactly what I was going to say.
Sorry about that.
No, that's perfect. The next card was not fun. What is not fun is sitting there waiting. Did you watch the Reddit video where the guy had 4 Bruce Banners out there? None of them popped by the end of the game. He had either Cloning Vats or Sinister London, where he was able to get multiples of Bruce Banner. 2 cost, 1 power. When you end a turn with unspent energy, 25% chance to Hulk out. This guy had 4 banners out there. He was like, this is an obscene amount of power, and none of it happened. I think I've run into Banner 2 or 3 times, and I don't think I've seen him Hulk out yet. Maybe once. If I'm going to run into him 4 times, I should probably see him Hulk out 1 time. It happens multiple turns. It's not like 1 time per game. It's per turn. So you throw him out there on turn 2, and you got 3, 4, 5, 6, possibly 7. So a total of 5 more turns that this guy could potentially Hulk out. And boy, oh boy, it was not happening. So anyway, what about you?
Well, I guess everybody else got a much more chill Bruce Banner than I did. I got him, and I was like, really? 25%? Because what I said last time was, if you think that doesn't sound like a lot, think how many times Danger Room takes out your card.
Right.
He was hulking out all the time for me. Rare was the game where he didn't Hulk out if I played him. I thought, what would Jesse Starcher do? He would go 10 games. I only cracked 6, but he hulked out on 3 out of 6. Seems like he's doing it a little less now. I'm not using him as much, but I had 2 or 3 decks that I popped him right into. We're always joking about how comic accurate some of the decks are. I made my Savage Sword of Shulkanot deck a true Hulk family deck.
Oh, did you really?
I already had Scar and She-Hulk in there. I couldn't put just regular Hulk in there when Red Hulk's sitting out there.
Right.
So I already had them in it. And then I added Bruce Banner and Kyra, who was Scar's mom. That's a deck where I'm usually expecting 1 or 2 turns not to use all my power. And if it's, the original goal is get a 7th turn with magic, play nothing on turn 6, then play Infinite and She-Hulk on turn 7. If it's a deck where I've got Sunspot, I figure why not throw Bruce Banner in there?
Mm-hmm.
I was seeing all the stuff you were on Reddit. I saw one guy say it was the worst card drop ever.
I don't know about that.
And I'm like, I don't know. I wasn't seeing it. Like I said, for my unfinished study, he popped 3 out of 6 times. But I was like, sometimes he's going to get to the end of the game and not Hulk out.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I'm hearing what you're saying. I'm reading people on Reddit. All I know is that my Bruce Banner was not happy.
He's always angry. Oh, yeah, wow.
That's his secret.
I'm glad you're having luck with him. I didn't spend the keys to get him. I thought, man, 212, that's pretty scary. So I'll give it that. But you have a quarter of a chance of that happening, and I just didn't want to spend the keys.
Did play one game, and I can't remember if it was me or my opponent played him on Bar Sinister, and 2 of the 4 hulked out.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, on different turns. And I mean, and there's been a game or two, I didn't track it down. It's all anecdotal, but I mean, there's been a game or two that I won because he hulked out.
Nice. All right. You have such an appreciation for M'Baku, but would you rather the Hulk show up, surprise Hulk, or surprise M'Baku? Surprise Hulk probably wins the day there.
Surprise Hulk's more points, but I don't know. He's just something about M'Baku.
I hear you.
Such a rascal.
All right, Rocket and Groot, 3 cost, 3 power. You can move this once after your opponent plays a card here, steal 1 power from it. So, I mean, Evan, this is the other card that I want to get this season, and I was able to get it.
Thank you.
I didn't know, number one, it said after your opponent plays a card here, we were trying to figure out, I think last month, like, does that mean just at that turn, or does that, no, that's every turn, which is actually really cool. So I then was like, oh, what would go great with this card is Jean Grey, because that's going to force that person to play there. I don't know if that was played on me or if I figured that out myself. I don't think it was played on me because I didn't see Rocket and Groot out there. I immediately got Rocket and Groot pretty quick. But anyway, I was, I was pretty pleased. There were times during High Voltage I was using Rocket and Groot because the chances of them playing a card where you were at 2 cards, possibly, you're stealing a point from each one of those cards.
Sure.
It worked. It worked out. So I liked Rocket and Groot. I don't use the move function very much. I just like having them there to grab the power when they can. No big combos that I could come up with other than with Jean Grey, but useful nonetheless. So what was your thoughts there?
Yeah, I had it played against me a few times, and that's where I was having buyer's remorse on Luna Snow, because I just did not have enough keys. I had 2, and I got variants of Selene and the Blob, and then I got one more right before it finished up, and I got 1,000 tokens. Which I can't complain about, because now I've got enough to buy them when they come up in the shop.
Yeah,
I did not get that one, but yeah, I mean, it's another one kind of like Penny Parker, where it does a few different things and can work in a lot of different decks. So that one definitely went to the top of my want list.
Mm-hmm. That takes us to our High Voltage card, one that I was able to get, which is Lasher. 2 cost, 2 power. Activate this. Afflict an enemy card here with negative power equal to this card's power. At the time I was writing this, I had not got Lasher. I think I got Lasher the day after I finished this document. Someone on Reddit hit a card across from him for -14. I think it was Shuri's lab. Shuri was involved. And the guy across from him previously played Gladiator. So Gladiator was sitting across from him, and that was the only card he decided to play. Lasher was sitting there with 14. And, or no, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, it was -14 because he got up to 14 somehow, and he hit one of them over there with -14 and ended up winning that lane. So I was really excited. I wanted to try this out. Right after High Voltage ended, I was like, man, I'm played a lot over the past freaking 2 weeks. I'm going to take a little bit of a break. So I use Lasher like maybe once or twice. And, I've got some, I can't wait till they sit down and start developing some decks here. Cause I haven't done that since the old season ended, since High Voltage ended. I've got some ideas for some combos for Lasher, very similar to what I was just talking about, where you pump this guy up and then you use him to zap somebody across the way. How about you? Any thoughts on Lasher?
Yeah, I threw him in a couple of different decks. I'm trying to see where he ended up. I put him in my lane filling deck because it's got Agony and Blue Marvel and folks like that can boost up the numbers. He'd be a good fit in my maximum clonage deck, but I haven't figured out who to take out to make room for him. Decreasing somebody by 2 isn't bad, but when you start piling on, I think the highest I ever got him was a 7 to take somebody down by 7. He's pretty good and fun to get in there. Usually to maximize what you want to do, you'd want to boost him up some more, but a pretty useful card and only 2 costs.
Yeah, can't beat that. I'm glad I assume everybody who's playing High Voltage, at least most of them, were able to get there. So let's hit the locations here. We're going to start with the second location I mentioned last time because we're not going to really have much to say about it, and that's Tokyo 2099. Cards can't be discarded. We talked about this last time, how it really felt like it negatively impacted the game, a la what the Sandbar used to do, I think. Ego, not as bad as Ego, but, it's Ego or what Krakoa used to be.
It was Castle Plunder, I think, where you could only play 6-cost cards or something like that.
Okay.
That was one that got taken out.
There was a lot of discussion and backlash prior to this thing releasing. Surprisingly, I didn't think they would do this, but they decided not to implement the location, or at least they're going to revamp it in some way. So it may get released later on. It's something they decided not to release this season. Kind of a bummer because we had so many weeks. I thought, well, one of my favorite things is locations because it does affect the game that much. Granted, Tokyo 2099 was not a positive impact. It was more of a negative one. And I would have liked to have seen other locations that were good, but you win some, you lose some. At least it does show that the devs are listening.
Yeah.
That's good, because the second dinner gets a lot of criticism for some of the moves that they make and decisions that they make in regards to this game. At least in this case, they were like, okay, yeah, you guys are right, but we're not going to do this. Not this way anyway. Did you have any thoughts on Tokyo 2099?
I just think it would have been fine if it was just you don't discard cards at this location.
Mm-hmm.
That seemed to me to be the simplest thing, just like no ongoing or no on reveal at this location. But yeah, I wasn't too disappointed by it. I was just like, oh, okay, they're not doing that. So yeah, I think just saying no discarding, if you play a discard card at this location, it doesn't happen. I don't think that's a problem, but maybe that's not as easy as I think it is.
Well, the one location we did get was Spider Island. After you play a card here, move it. And I laid out like, oh, I'm going to use all these move cards. I don't recall having some kind of crazy move deck being used and actually taking advantage of Spider Island being out there. I do not recall that at all. So I don't know if I have much to say about it. Did you do anything with Spider Island when it dropped?
I might have been using my move deck then, and I've seen it from time to time. It's kind of a different take on Death's Domain or Luke's Bar, a place that you can't get a card to stay on. You use somebody like Jubilee or Spider-Gwen to get a card over there. Instead of losing the card or having it go back to your hand, it just moves to a different location. It's an interesting wrinkle to throw in there.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is our discussion on Marvel Snap Rivals. Thanks a lot for joining us. Make sure to tune in tomorrow for the next installment of Snap Material.